Today we're looking at surface area. Your essential question is, how do I find the surface area? Learning intention. I'm learning to find the surface area of figures. Surface area is formula driven. You've got to know how to find the area of different types of figures to find the surface area. So first thing we're going to do is to substitute and solve. When we have the formula for surface area, we need to be able to substitute the values in and solve. So we're going to practice by just doing some simple substitution. Pause the video and do the 3 problems now, please. Well, I hope you tried. A plus B minus E. A is 2, plus B is negative 6, minus E, which is negative 3. Well, we know we don't minus a negative number, so this becomes 2 plus negative 6 plus 3. I forgot the negative sign there, didn't I? Two plus negative 6 is negative 4, plus 3, and you end up with negative 1. Okay, for the next one, we're going to multiply all the numbers together. 2 times negative 6 times 0 times 4 times negative 3. As I look at the problem, I notice that I have a 0. I'm multiplying whatever numbers they are by 0. What happens? Well, your answer will be 0, because anytime you multiply and have 0 in the mix, your answer will be 0. Okay, for the last one, 3b minus 4a plus 2d. 3 times negative 6 minus 4 times 2 plus 2 times 4. 3 times negative 6 is negative 18 minus 4 times 2 is 8 plus 2 times 4 is 8 equals. Okay, if you're looking, you're going to subtract 8 and then add 8 back in. Negative 8 plus 8 is 0. Negative 18 minus 0 is negative 18, and we're done. So I hope that the substitution was very easy for you, and just a review. Our definition today. What do you think is the combined area of all the surfaces? What do you think it's called? If you said surface area, you are correct. So let's look at this cube. It's 6 by 2 by 4. If you cut the cube out, this is what we call this is the net. It's like you've taken this box and cut it in the corners and laid it out flat. So this is what the cube looks like, or it's actually a rectangular prism. And it's a right prism because all the corners are right angles. That means it will stand straight up and down. A company that manufactures toys is designing a set of blocks. They need to know the surface area of the blocks shown in order to determine how much paint is needed for the blocks of this style. The net shows the sides of the blocks. Add the surface areas of the sides together. So if I'm looking at this, 4 I've got 2 of the ends, I've got 2 of the sides and 2 of the other. So this is 4 by 6, and that would be 24. This is 2 by 6, and that will give me 12. Now, the opposite sides are going to be the same, so the front and the back here will be the same. 4 times 6, again, is 24. 2 times 6, again, is 12. And finally, for the edges, this is 2 by 4, which is 8. So if I want to add them all together, I will have 2 times 24 plus 2 times 12 plus 2 times 8. When you multiply them together, you get 88. So your surface area is 88 centimeters squared. So what is the formula for the area of the rectangle? It would be your length times your width, or your base times your height. Why does the surface area calculation involve the sum of 6 values? Well, think of a rectangle, a rectangular prism. Think of any box. Picture a box in your head. Count the number of sides of a box. There are 6. Because each rectangular prism, which is what a box is really called, has 6 sides. So if I wanted the area of a rectangular prism, this is 2 times your length times your width plus 2 times your length times your height plus 2 times your width times your height. Does it matter which we call length, width, and height? No, because you can rotate that and you can have different orientations which will make the length, width, and height different. So you just take the numbers you've gotten. I'd call this L, W, and H, and then you just plug it into your equation. I could call this LWH or this LWH. It doesn't matter. Just plug those in to your formula. Just identify one is your length, one is your width, one is your height, and plug it in. Okay, so next we're going to look at a triangular prism. If you notice, you've got 2 triangles for your bases. So if I'm looking at this, I know the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. I'm going to put area there just so we don't have any confusion. So if you're looking, we know that the two bases will be base times height divided by 2. Then you have 3 edges. If you look at this as a rectangle, a large rectangle, then you could look at the fact you would be using your whole length here, which would also be the perimeter of that triangle, times from base to base to get the area of that larger rectangle. So let's put it all together now. For the triangle, this would be 2.8 times 1.4 divided by 2. And I get 1.96. And that would be centimeters squared. For the bigger rectangle, you would have 2 plus 2.8 plus 2 times 4. That's your perimeter times 4. And that is 27.2. So now, let's put it all together. We have 2 triangles plus 27.2. I forgot to put centimeters squared here. So my total area is 31.12 centimeters squared. For anyone taking the KMA, Kansas Math Assessment, you get this handy dandy resource sheet. So it's got your standard conversions, it's got formulas for area, triangle, parallelogram, trapezoid, rectangle. Slope, point slope form, intercept form, standard form. These are formulas. The formulas for surface area that you would use for surface area would include these. So you've also got for the all the different circles and prisms and pyramids. So if we're looking at a prism, your surface area is 2 times the base plus the perimeter times the height. 2 times your base, your perimeter times your height. And it doesn't matter if it's rectangular or triangular or if it's a cube. It's still the same formula for surface area. Okay, so the next one is the surface area of a cylinder. If I'm looking at the surface area of a cylinder, 2 times your base area plus your perimeter times your height. So let's take a minute and look. This is your area. Your B, capital B, stands for base area. What kind of a base do we have? We've got a circle. How do we find the area of a circle? Pi r squared. So this becomes 2 times pi r squared plus. My perimeter would be the circumference of the circle. So that's 2 pi r h. Okay, what is my radius? R equals 1. What is my height? H equals 4. Let's substitute everything in. So this is 2 times pi times 1 squared plus 2 times pi times 1 times 4. Using the calculator. 2, and then to get pi, it's in blue up above the caret key. So second pi, and then times 1 squared. I would not have to put that in there. I realize that because when you multiply by 1, nothing happens. 2 pi times 1 times 4, and we end up with 31.4159. That would be approximately 31.4. That would be centimeters squared. But what if we wanted to find it without, and just add the pi back in to make sure it is exact? Well, then you've got pi in both of these terms, so it would be 2 times 1 squared plus 2 times 1 times 4 pi. You're using the distributive property in reverse. We're pulling that pi out. So this would be 2 plus 8, which would be 10. So it would be 10 pi centimeters squared. And that would be the exact value of your surface area. Okay, so if we're looking at the surface area, this one is 2 times your length times your width plus 2 times your base or your length times your height. plus 2 times your width times your height. Which is which? Don't know, don't care. So I'm going to call this my length, my width, my height. 2 times 5 times 3 plus 2 times 5, length times your width, length times your height. 2 times 5 times 4 plus 2 times 3 times 4. Two times 5 times 3 plus 2 times 5 times 4 plus 2 times 3 times 4, and we end up with 94. So this is equal to 94 millimeters squared. Okay, if we're looking at the surface area, this is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi rh. Now, what are your variables? R is 3, h is 2. So what I'm going to do first is just look at the numbers. Pi times 2 times 3 squared plus 2 times 3 times 2. Pi times 2 times 3 squared plus 2 times 3 times 2. 30. And this is simply 30 pi inches squared. That's the exact amount. When I take 30 and multiply it by pi, I get 94.2477, which is about 94.2. inches squared. And for the triangular prism, your bases are triangles. So it's 2 times your base times your height of the triangle, divided by 2. Plus your perimeter times your height. Our height, we know, is 5. If we're looking at all three of the sides, the perimeter will be 3 plus 4 plus 5. But let's look at the base and height of the triangle first. When I take 2 and divide it by 2, that eliminates it. Now it becomes base times height plus the perimeter times the height. So my base of my triangle is 4. My height of the triangle is 3. My perimeter is 3 plus 4 plus 5. Which gives me 12. And then my other height, the height of my figure itself, is 5. So putting it all together, I've got 4 times 3 plus 12 times 5 and you end up with 72. And this would be feet squared. So how do you know you're successful? You know you're successful when you can find the surface area of any figure. So right now we're looking at right cylinders and right prisms. So if we're using this, the surface area of a right prism is 2 times your base area plus your perimeter times your height. For a cylinder, 2 times your base area plus your perimeter times your height. A cylinder's perimeter is the circumference of its ends. So hopefully that helps you with being able to apply the formula.